Welcome everyone to my video on how to play Warlord Ascendant in the Questline VTT. This video is going to go over a few things in terms of how to get your game set up, and how to go over all the sheets, make sure you can create characters and units. A little bit into the functionality of Questline itself, but this is not a Questline VTT tutorial. I'm not fully confident in my ability to use all of its features yet. I may think about doing a video on that down the line if people are looking for something like that, but at least for now, this video should get you up and running with the Warlord Ascendant game system that I've created. So without further ado, let's hop right in. So the first thing you'll want to do is go to questlinevtt.com. You'll need to make an account. They're free, although I believe if you want to make your own game, you may need to sign up. I'm not 100% sure. I sort of dove in with 2 feet right away, so I subbed, and I'm not sure what all the free settings are. But when you do have an account, you should be greeted with this page. You'll want to go through and select Create New Game. This will pull up all of the game types that have been created in Questline. For the purposes of this video, we'll do in Warlord Ascendant, which is the system that I've been working on, created by the lovely Alex T over at Black Oath Entertainment. This game type should be public by the time I release this video, so it should be there for you. So we'll go ahead and select Warlord Ascendant. We can call this whatever we want, video test game. And go ahead and create. And load up here, you'll be greeted with a blank canvas. For this for now, but feel free to look through this information if this is your first time. It's a quick little intro to Questline. For us, go from here. So to get the most basic stuff going, you go to characters. We'll click on add, and by default this is going to create an enemy sheet because that's just what's set up as the game master default. But when you've created it here, you can go over to settings, change the character sheet to whatever you want to. I have a number of sheets in here for each particular thing you may need. We'll start off with a character sheet. This will be the most basic thing that you'll use for any members of your warband. So let's pop up the stats here for a warband creature. Got this PDF here. So first thing you'll want to do is go up at the top. We'll click on edit. We'll put in, we'll just call this Adrian. The role is leader and level 1. These are just free-form fields, so feel free to have this labeled however you want. I have this set up a little bit differently in my own game, but we'll keep it simple here. We'll update the vigor here. They have a starting vigor of 20, as you can see here on the PDF. I don't believe the Adrian starts with any protection. So we'll go in, we'll fill in the starting loyalty is 20, the speed is 3, upkeep is 3. And then we'll just need to go down and update all the stats here. So to do this, just a limitation of the system is that click on the number here is going to open up a role dialog, which you don't want. So to change the value, you actually need to click on the name. Go here, agility is 50, update that. Easy enough. So with those, anytime those change, you can just come in here, update this, and then when you go, if you need to make a roll for that, if you're making an agility check, you can just come in, click that. This is all set up, ready to go. It's checking the roll direction, the target number. You'll make a roll, and you'll see it'll tell you if you fail. You'll get a green check if it succeeds. And easy enough. Moving on down, we've got a section here for conditions. So I have set up all of the conditions in here that come with the game. So these are all the ones that are in the book. And all you need to do is, for example, if our agent here gets dazed, you can just come in, click add dazed, and then if you actually have this token out on a battle map, it will show that condition on the token. And then you mouse over here to get the full description for that condition. If for whatever reason you need to add a custom condition, you can come in here, call it whatever you want, add description. You can have ranks in here. I've been trying to figure out a way to maybe get this to work for the conditions that have values like bleeding, but I haven't quite figured out how I would want that to work yet. So for now, have there. Actions are for anything that you want to make a roll for that you would need to customize in some way. So obviously these are just going to go off of the values here, but for example, in my game, I have an action set up so that when you roll, you can roll close combat, defense, or ranged combat, and it'll roll the trait dice automatically. So I don't think, yeah. So what you can do, add prefab allows you to create actions here, and then you can easily add them, essentially duplicate them onto any character sheet you create, which is pretty handy. But you can also just create custom ones here. And when I flip over to my game where I have a little bit more stuff, I'll go over what I've done there with the actions. Next one down is going to be maneuvers, feats, and incantations. So I have all these in as prefabs as well. So we can do a collapse here, and you can see all the combat maneuvers are in here, all the feats separated out by their development point cost, all the incantations, and then I also have the unit abilities. So when you're looking at the Warrior's Flow here, this is the Adrian's unit ability. So we can go in here, we can grab Warrior's Flow. You can drag this over, or you can use the plus minus here. It'll add it in. So for now, we'll just do that. And then you can see on the sheet, we've got Warrior's Flow. You can always reference it there. We've got inventory here. So obviously in Warlord Ascendant, the characters don't need to carry supplies and construction materials on them themselves. So, but I couldn't find a way to disable these fields on the sheet. But you can come in here. We know each character has 6 gear slots for weapons, armor, all that stuff. You can go in and add item. If you create an item here, it will show up in the list. So you can do that, or you can just come in here and create a new one. I'm going to give them a mace or whatever. Do that there. Proficiencies, I have all the prefabs in here as well. So separated out by type. You can see on the PDF, you've got their proficiencies. And so we can go in and we can see needs dagger proficiency, short sword, spear, so on and so forth. I don't need to go through all of them, but you can see how that works. And then if you need armor, obviously the Achillean warband don't use armor, but if they did, you can come in and add that. It's got all those in there. And I just went through, I added, you don't actually have shield or headwear proficiencies in the game, but I added these just so they're there. You click apply and then they show up here. Another nice thing you can do with these fields is you can collapse them so that you don't have all that text taking up the space, and then when you mouse over you can see the descriptions there. And then the last thing we've got here is wounds. Again, add prefab. I've got all the wounds in here. I had to take a little bit of liberty naming them because the wounds don't all have names in the book, but they've got descriptions for what they do here. And again, let's say this Adrian lost an eye. Got that. Collapse it, and then you can see a list of their wounds. And yeah, that's super simple, basic way to get a character up and running. You click save. Oh, did give it a name. You can also separate them out by groups and subgroups. So you could call this like my warband. Save that, and then in this list you've got them there, so you can have all of your units under your warband like so. And then as I showed before, I have other sheets here. So I've got enemy sheet, Stronghold, Town, and Warband. They all work very similarly. The biggest difference here is with the enemies. I've got all this looks the same. Up here, the bio has a little bit more information in it for the enemies, so it lets you put in their attitude, whether they're aggressive, combat style, all that stuff, size, speed, warband. These are just my browser filling these in from when I filled them before. You won't have these pre-selected in here, but you update that, you can see top of the sheet is there. Update the hit points. We'll just say this has 10. We'll say it has 2 protection. You can go in, update the skills the same way. Oh, actually, that does remind me. I wanted to make a note in the character sheet. I've added a star over here, so when you do end up rolling doubles, you can click the star to mark that as one to roll for improvements after battle. So just a handy little feature there. Back to the enemy. Same conditions here, list of conditions. Let's say this guy's bestial. And then I have all the traits and the features in as prefabs. So obviously each enemy has their own unique, well, not all of them have them, but the ones that do have unique attack and defense traits. So I just have generic ones here. You can fill in the information from the PDF yourself. And then the other ones here, I put in all the most common ones that are on multiple enemies. So if this one's difficult, if it's recruitable, bestial, that sort of stuff. But if the enemy has a feature that's not in this list, you can use this other, and we'll go ahead and apply. You can see all you have to do is click on this, and then you can come in, change the name to, let's call it random trait. You can change this, whether it's a feature or attack trait or whatever, you can do it that way. And then you just select delete, type something here. Update, and then you can see it's updated there. And then you can come in, you can add as many of these as you need in there for you to edit. Attack trait work the same way. Come in here, change the name, edit the field. You can update it like that. And then they've also got an actions here if you wanted to make prefabs for their actions to roll their traits. So that is how that all works for the enemy sheet. And again, you can sort them into groups here. You'll see in my game how that goes. And yeah, why don't we hop over to my game that I have a bunch of stuff pre-filled in so you can see how it all looks once you've gone through those motions. So here's what my list of characters looks like. I've got the enemies divided up into enemy monsters and enemy warbands here. Got some token images here for them. And if we hop in here, you can see what a fully set up monster sheet looks like. That's the Akrathar over here. I've got a token for it. Nice thing about Questline, and I guess we'll probably get into just some of the more features about actually playing the game and using Questline here. But Questline has a great feature of these little tooltips that pop up here in the bottom left. These let you, say if you're on a battle map or whatever, you can just click on any unit, and rather than having to open up their whole character sheet every time, you can just come in here, refer to the token tooltip, and you can roll straight from here. If I had any actions in here, they would be in here, all that type of stuff. And this is something that I've set up on the system's end in terms of what to show in the tooltip. So yeah, great little feature. Just roll straight from here. Boom. And that shows up in the log. Yeah, so that's what these look like here. You can come in, see all the traits and features that I've added. These are all the ones for Akrathar. And then, yes, that's what the monster sheets look like. And you can just come in, got all their stats in here, features, good and ready for running. Same deal with the enemy warbands. All of the enemy sheet is set up so that the token stats are separate from the base sheet. So if you never really have to have more than one sheet for these, because you can come in and change the values in the tooltip, or if you right click and open the token sheet, you can adjust the values here. That only changes the value for this specific token. So if you have multiple Achelians out, you go in, you change that token's stats. It doesn't change the stats of the other tokens, and it doesn't affect the overall, the base sheet here. So that's a really nice feature that you can just turn on for any sheet type. I have it just turned on for the enemies because the characters you do want to update because um, you will want those to be updated regardless of where they are, and you won't have any more than one. So I have these set up. These are all the units that you can recruit into each warband. And for these, what you would want to do is either just set them up the way you want. I'm running this with a group, so I went ahead and made all these so that it's easy for us to just grab what we need. But it is nice to have a preset here. So if you're going to be recruiting more twisted soldiers, you can just come in here, hit duplicate, and then it'll make a copy of it. And then what you'd want to come in and do is change this to be, for example, my warband, and then name this whatever, call him Jeff, and then Jeff the Twisted Soldier. And then you can see after all of that, there is now a new My Warband, and you've got Jeff in there. And you can do that for all these, and that way you still have this base Twisted Soldier sheet for if you recruit more, you just go in, do another duplicate. So moving on from there, we can sort of look at these other sheets I've got. I've got the Stronghold sheet. I have all the buildings in here. These are actually, I did add these as prefabs. So you can come in here, and the way I have it set up, this is totally up to your own preference how you want to do it. But currently I have it set up as all of the buildings are here, and then I have this little box over here to mark if they've been built. You could do it where you just have them all in the list and you only move in the ones you build. So if you build a chapel, you could move it in, and then you just have the chapel in the list. That's personal preference how you want to do it. Um, do that. I also have the star here for whether to mark whether it's been upgraded or not. The only one I could see it not really working for is the warehouse, since you can upgrade that one multiple times. That one you'll just kind of have to keep track of on your own. I don't really have a great way of doing that, because if I were to add extra pips over here to track how many were built, it would add the pips for all of them. So I think it just looks cleaner this way, and it's not that bad to have to track that individually. Down here, this inventory, you can actually, well, you will actually use the supplies and construction materials here. You can update and use those, and then this will be all the items in your stash. I've added a few in here just as a test to see what they would look like. The item sheet for this doesn't have a lot of detail on it in terms of what we actually need. So I've put all the information here in the description. Eventually, Questline, the developer, will be adding an actual item sheet builder, so I could have, availability, damage type, properties, trait. That could all be its own field here that you could fill in individually. But for now, I've just got them in the description. That pretty much covers the strongholds. For warbands, I've got up here level names. This is a little bit of a weird one. I wasn't fully confident in how I wanted to do this one. So I have the actual passive ability here in the details, but I do still have this warband passive field here. And the way that shows up is like this. So it's warband passive at the bottom. I could copy this. I suppose I can just show you what this looks like. This is, again, just kind of personal preference, how you want it to look. So if you want it to be there, just delete it out of the details. This bottom part won't be there. It'll just show up like that. But I actually ended up liking how this looked instead. So I just leave the actual warband passive field empty and have the details there. But you can do it how you want. Change the name, change your momentum value. Um, These are all the command options. I have prefabs for all of these in here as well, so you can just bring them in. And again, this is similar to the Stronghold buildings. You can do this how you want. I personally like having all of the actions here, and then I will just click the pip for if I bring them into battle. And then once I've used them in battle, I can just unclick that so I know that they're active. But if you wanted to, you could just bring in from the list the 3 that you're bringing into battle, just so the list is a little clean. Totally up to you. And then for members here, I have prefabs for all of the unit types. And then you can just come over, again, this is a role dialog, but if you click on this, you can change the value here. So you can track how many members of each unit type you have in your warband. I did not add prefabs for like all the recruitable monsters. That's something I may end up doing in the future, but for now you can just come in and add a custom member, and that way you can just put in how many of those you have. Yeah, that's the warband sheet. And then I have been experimenting with a town sheet. Did I make one? Looks like no. Just do that real quick. This is not fully finished yet to a point where I'm happy about it, but this is what I've got going so far. I just have a prosperity order discontent in there, name it. You can fill in, whatever information you want to put about the town. Um, I'll probably flesh this out. And then my plan with the actions here was to have prefabs for did I make any of those yet? I have not. But just for the actions that you can roll in a town, like recruiting, um, town events, that sort of stuff, you could make a prefab for that, and you could have those here on the town. So all you have to do is click on the town's thing, and you can name the town whatever. Click on that town, go to it, and then you'd have all the actions you can do there. Again, this sheet's not fully complete yet, but I'll keep working on it. But yeah, so that's what this looks like. And then we can dig into the actions here so I can sort of show you what I've got going on. These are not done yet. I've still got a lot that I want to do. But the actions is where you can do rollable tables. So for all of the events, you can make a table for it. They don't support nested tables, so I did have to separate out the exploration terrain tables into individual ones. So it's a little clunky, but maybe eventually they'll add that feature. I've got recovery rolls in here, bestial combat rolls, and then these are the combat roll plus trait actions that I was mentioning earlier. So what I've done with these is set it up that it will roll a D100. Unfortunately, there's no way to tie an actual skill on a character to this target number. So what you will have to do, and I can show you on character sheet here. Let's pull just the Adrian. What you will have to do is come in and edit these with the value of that creature. So Adrian has a close combat of 60. You'll have to come in, click edit, update that target number manually. But once you've done that, all you have to do, you can click roll, it'll bring this up, or you can shift click and it'll roll it by itself. But what you'll see there is you get your close combat roll and then you get a trait roll. And target number is 9 for trait, 9, 10, 11 will be a success. And then close combat will be the target value that you set in there. So quick and easy, one roll for the combat and defense plus trait die and easy. But the other actions here are other, you can do rollable tables. So if you're fighting a bestial enemy, you can come in here, roll that. Now know that monster is targeting the nearest. Roll management phase events. Oh, get some free loot. Love to see that. And the way these are set up, we'll go through this really quick. Go in, add a new action, call it whatever you want. I'll just call this test table. And then to get the table, you go to the details tab, add detail table. You'll select the dice, so we'll just do an easy D6. And then we need to add some rows here. So this will just be a 1 value. And then you would fill in what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you got this table here. And then we'll come over to the effect and you change the type to a table role. So under table, you'll select new table. See that is in there, and then we save that, and then you've got this test table here. All you have to do, click roll, and then we roll the 1, brought up row 1. Nice and easy. It is a lot of data entry, obviously, if you're pulling in the tables from the book. There's not really an easy way to just do that. But at least for the most commonly used tables, this is a nice way to do it. Otherwise, you are more than free to just click on the roll dialog here, and you can just say roll a D100, and then you can reference the table yourself. You don't have to do all this setup that I'm doing. I just like it because it's fun and will be convenient. I also realized that I had not gone over how to set up the action with the trait die here. So I'll just go over this a little bit more in detail so you can set this one up, because I think this will probably be the most useful action to have. So I've come in here from scratch. You would name it whatever you want. In here, I have it in the combat actions group, so it is in that folder in the actions pane. And then you don't need any details on this one, but you will need to, I think they call them effects. So you'll need 2 effects. You'll have one that is the close combat roll itself. You'll want to set this to a D100 as a roll direction low with a target number of the skill. I just have 50 as the default, and you can change it once it gets on the character sheet. Keep all this the same. It should all be mainly set up like this as the default settings. Then you'll create a second effect that is the trait. Change this to a D12 down here. The target number is a 9, but we want the roll direction to be high so that it goes 9, 10, 11. And otherwise keep it the same. Call this one trait, call this one whatever, and then you'll see here it's got both of them. And then that way, once you've saved that, and you roll this, you can see that it rolls both of the dice. And that is how you do that one. The other thing I wanted to show off is the asset gallery here. You can bring in all your token pictures, and then when you're in a character selection, you just come here, and then you can use, has support for portrait and disc. You can use whatever here, and then it'll put a portrait or a disc around it. Or you can come in if you want a fully borderless, do it like that, and then it won't have the disc. So bring in all your tokens, bring in your art. You can make just your own tokens. They've got a bunch of like frame styles, or different frame styles in here. All sorts of stuff you can do with that if you just want the circular tokens, but I really like how the top-down tokens look, so I've been using the top-down tokens for these. You can see I've got them set up there. So this image will be what is used in the portrait picture here, and then the actual token itself will draw from down here if you have this. Otherwise, it will use this as the token if you have nothing here. And then the other thing I want to show you is maps. So maps took me a little bit to figure out how it worked. It was a little different, but down here at the bottom, you've got your like token, and you just drag that to the map that you want. So I just have this set up as a testing ground, but this is the hex crawl map that I pulled out, and I have a bunch of I have a bunch of terrain, hex terrain from, I think this is from 2 Minute Tabletop. I could be wrong on that. I'll put credits in the description. But yeah, so there's currently a quirk with hex grids where the size of the image gets scaled when you pull it in. So you want to zoom out when you do this, but if you just drag this in, then you've got a nice little hex here. You can move it around, change where it is on the layers, bring that into hexes. So you see all the things are here, so you can make them look nice and nested with each other. But yeah, so and then you can also use points of interest here. These are really cool feature. Just create a new point of interest, puts it there, and then you can tie these to journal entries and bring those up. So if you have information you want to put on the town there, you can do that, and you just have to double click this and it opens up. Journal comes up, got the info in it, and then yeah, you're good to go. You can also do, so the way I have this one, this is set up as a token. So it's using the Stronghold here. So I may decide to do towns that way as well. I haven't quite figured out how I want to do that yet. But this was sort of my first try, and then I realized I could just make a town sheet, and then I could pull that in and do the same sort of thing as I have the Stronghold. So we'll see how I end up doing that. You are free to do it how you would like. Other than that, I think that covers pretty much everything. I have yet to actually play the game yet. I've been spending all my time getting this set up. So I'm hoping to start playing very soon, and then I may have some more changes once I get to actually using it. We'll just have to see how it goes. There are some limitations that I have noticed already. If we go back to this map here, Questline does not support like custom sizes of tokens. So you can obviously scale them up, but I can't do like a 1x2 for the giant lizard or the other. I Ikanu might be 1x2. The size 2 creatures in the book are supposed to take up a 1x2 space on the map. I'm not completely sure how I want to handle that yet, but yeah, that is a current limitation. I believe the developer is working on making some changes there, so perhaps in the future we'll be able to do that. But for now, I'm just going to go with a 1x1, I think, and just try to remember that they also occupy the square behind them. Let's see, what are the other things that I had run into already? One of them I brought up already is just the fact that with the actions, you can't tie a skill as a target number in an action. So you will, if you do end up adjusting the skill values of your units, you will need to remember to go in and change. If you do use the actions here, you would need to remember to come in and change that target value as well, which isn't a big deal, but it is something to be aware of. And then I think the last thing was the encounter tracker is kind of clunky the way it's currently set up. So I have it set up as sides. Obviously, in your game, I'll be playing co-op with 3 people, so I have 3 warbands in here. But obviously, in yours, just have your warband and the enemies. But if we go in here, create a test encounter. And then if we run this encounter, you can see what we're working with here. And then if I were to, so I can just do it for, say, just fighting against 8. We will add, we'll join the encounter. Is it entirely sure how? Just added it with, how did I do this before? Did I have to do it like that? That might be how I had to do it. Okay. Yeah, so down here, Questline lets you select a character on the map that you can like speak as in the chat. I think normally you'd probably just want to be selected on the Game Master one. And then if you click this, it just joins the encounter with that character. If you want to add specific characters, go in here. We'll just add some of these quick. As you can see, it's kind of clunky. There may very well be a better way of doing this. I'm just not super experienced with the platform yet, so I don't know. And then for your warband, you can add however many of your units are in there. So as you can see, it gets a little clunky when you have more. If you have a wider screen, you can sort of stretch it out like that, and it looks a little better. But as of right now, this is how the encounter tracker works. And then once you've started the encounter, then you can go through this. We'll skip through the units, but you can also just click on the side to skip to them. I think you can, yeah, you can set a unit. So if activated a unit, you can do that. Or just try to remember which ones you've gone with. Yeah, it'll take me a little bit of fiddling to figure out the best way I want to handle all of this stuff. Currently, it's not ideal, but it will work. All right, well, thank you if you made it this far through the video. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this answered any questions you had and at least got you up and running with the system. You can find me over on the Black Oath Discord. I'm pretty active over there, so feel free to shoot me a message if you have any questions or any feedback on the system. I'm happy to make adjustments if you find something that you think should be done differently. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate you watching it. I apologize for any strange editing or audio issues. I realized I didn't have any noise gate on my audio here. It's the first time I've recorded a video in literally over a decade. So if I keep doing it, they'll get better, I promise. But for now, this is at least something to get out there. So thanks again. I hope you enjoy and have a great rest of your day.